Will you serve God or man? And are you prepared to make that choice? Today we're going to be looking at Daniel chapter 6, verses 6 through 10. This is the Baptist on the Bible podcast. I'm Dr. Andrew Marquez, and here is your 7 at 7 devotion. I try to offer these devotions every Monday and Friday at 7 a.m. to start and end your work week. It's an exciting moment today as we're getting prepared for that great scene when Daniel is cast to the lions in the lion's den. But we're building up to that moment. Last time we discussed how Daniel was elevated to great position, and that brought the ire of his opposition. And today we're going to see what they were working on behind the scenes in order to entrap Daniel. So let's go ahead and read these verses together, and we'll spend a little more time discussing them. Beginning at verse 6, it says, "So these governors and satraps thronged before the king and said thus to him, 'King Darius, live forever. All the governors of the kingdom, the administrators and satraps, the counselors and advisers have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree, that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter.' Therefore King Darius signed the written decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day, and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days." All right, we have such a fabulous moment. Daniel is set up for a great trap, and in the midst of knowing what was coming, Daniel is faithful. So what do we see here? Well, we have some crafty connivers. We have these satraps, these governors, and they go in before King Darius in order to create an opportunity to trap Daniel. They went together. It appears they have numbers, and they present this as something that is unified by all those that are in leadership. And of course, this is just a setup in order to keep Daniel from being elevated above them. Their conspiracy is clever. We see the plan. They don't have any good accusation for Daniel, so if they can create a law that does not even exist in order to trap Daniel, to make it an offense for him to pray to God instead of to pray to Darius, if they can create that opposition, they know they have Daniel, and they do. So what do? They appeal to the pride of Darius, and they say, "Hey, we've got a great plan, Darius. You're the best. We know it. O king, live forever. What if we make it impossible for anyone to show their loyalty to any other, to God or man, except for you for 30 days? What a great idea in order to really gain control of the territory, to try to make sure there's no loyalties remaining to Babylon. We'll make sure that everybody is focused only on Darius." And Darius should have probably recognized something going on here, but his pride perhaps got the better of him, and he signs the decree. We also learn from this that there is a difference between Babylon law and Persian law, and that the king cannot amend that law once it has been brought into effect. And so this law is inviolable, and once it is signed, even Darius will be held to it. And so we have this trap now laid and now set for Daniel. And when Daniel finds out about it, what does he do? He goes to his house, he opens his windows, he faces Jerusalem, and he prays like he had always done before. What do we learn from this? Well, like we learned last time, as Christians serve God faithfully, what they find is that they are going to be elevated at some point, because the best people in the world are those that serve God faithfully, and those people naturally will stand out. And as you stand out and are brought into better position, the enemy will seek to bring you down. And this could be spiritual, but it could also just be a natural competition that takes place in the world. But this is certainly spiritual for Daniel. Think of what's going on here. Satan doesn't want Daniel to have this office once again where he is in control, and basically a faithful follower of God is leading the entire Persian Empire. We know from later in the visions going on that there is a diabolical, demonic force behind the empire of Persia. And so recognize Bible verses that bring us to this. 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant. Your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." James 4:7 says, "Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Our enemy is real, and when he comes for us, we have to follow in the footsteps of Daniel. All right? In the midst of everything going on, we also recognize that people are sometimes used as pawns of the devil. And we have to love our enemies and bless those who curse us in spite of the fact that they seek harm. They seek our harm. And so somehow in the midst of recognizing our enemy for who he is and standing faithful to God, we're going to pray and love those seeking us harm. And it's the hard path that Christians are called to walk. We can learn from the story that in spite of what's going on behind the scenes, Daniel has no knowledge of the trap. He is just going to be faithful in walking with God day to day, and he'll be ready when the day comes for him to stand his ground. Darius fell to pride. Darius signed the law, and in the midst of knowing everything that was coming, Daniel does what he had always done. What do we learn? If we're faithful in the little things, when the day of testing comes, we don't have to do any more or less than be continually faithful in those little things. That's what's going to build the courage to stand. Over the last year, we've seen all kinds of opposition to church, to service of God. And in the midst of it all, we recognize that when God presents us with an opportunity to serve him or serve man, we'll always go the right way if we choose to serve God. Will you stand like Daniel? I hope you will. God bless and take care.